Hi, everybody. We have made so many jokes about how you guys are listening to you. Can you hear me now? Please say yes or something in a message.
Yeah, there's a small delay, so we'll keep an eye on the notes. But we're currently doing the community announcements, so it's not dreadful if this isn't recorded. Maybe people wonder why we're trying to record things, and it is partly so people can join in if they can't come here in person. But we also know that a lot of conference organizers look for examples of where people have spoken before. So if we put this on YouTube, then you can point to that and say, like, here's an example of me speaking in front of an audience. Sorry.
I was going to show something else, but
very good for that. All right, sorry.
Awesome.
Please continue.
We got this one. Now, we always take pictures. We always try to take pictures. Sometimes we post on Instagram when we are feeling dedicated. So if you don't want your picture to be taken, please let us know. And then we'll probably cover your face with an emoji. But you won't be there, I guess.
So coming up in May?
Yes. In May 14, we have an event happening for Pi Berlin. So if any of you are acquainted to them, they are a really good organization, and they are usually a welcoming space. So we are putting out here so you can get to know them. It's going to be in ThoughtWorks. We also have an event on May 21st for Pi Data. Also very interesting for anybody that is inside of the data community. And on June 26th, next month, our event is going to be at Ecosia. And we will have a meetup page open so you guys can sign up if you want to.
It's, up as of now. Sorry, there's this really cool project from the Pi Ladies Sweden chapter, where I think the Stockholm chapter, but one of the Swedish ones, where you can create your own Pi Ladies avatar. So if you would like to have your own to put on your GitHub badges or whatever, please feel free. You can see that we've used them a lot. And Timna even created amazing stickers using this.
I have had way too much fun with this. Okay, how to join us? The best way to join us is to join the Slack channel. We have a worldwide Slack channel. So if you enter there, you can find the Pi Ladies everywhere. And you would look for us in City Berlin. And usually in this Slack channel is where we're going to post all the events coming up. Any job applications or any people that are moving into the city that they want to find people. We are very open and very welcoming. So if you would like to know more about us, please join and we'll be part.
And yeah, we'd love to hear from you in terms of coming and sharing your knowledge, your unique perspective. No matter where you are in your journey, you have interesting insights, trust me. And it's really great opportunity to get into speaking, to try that out. This is a welcoming space. We really can't emphasize that enough. We always support you with dry runs if you would like that. And yeah, one of these QR codes, this one is for
the small
speaking.
One is for host and the big one for speaking.
The small one is for hosting. So if your company would like to host us, then you can also get in touch with us that way.
Yes. No coding superpowers. You're going to watch one from me today. But the idea is if you want to do a talk about something smaller, it's a 5-minute talk where you talk about your presentation skills or asking stupid questions. We had one that I really loved that was about bullet journaling. And so whatever you feel like is your superpower you'd like to share is something simple and something cool to get started. So if you never did public speaking, it's a good way to get started. And we're welcoming those thoughts anytime.
Yeah, so get involved is the message here, the call for action. So giving a talk or a workshop, you can help organize a meetup. You can also help by doing this presentation that we're giving you right now, very ad hoc, as you can see. So you would get the slides beforehand, but you could even help us in this way of like presenting the opening slides. It takes a community to run a community. So coaches, speakers, join the organizing team. Every first Monday of the month, we have an organizers meeting where we talk about the things that we're running and the kind of things we're doing. I think it's a great opportunity, no matter what you're doing outside of this, because you get to like meet with like-minded people, share ideas, but you also get to have a lead and a say in where the community develops. And I think that's really does require us to have a diverse range of voices in there. So we really do welcome everyone.
Yes. So now we're going to have the privilege of listening me.
And I will disappear.
Okay. Nobody's seeing this. Remember, we already talked about this. Okay. So today I'm going to talk to you, guys, a little bit about Notion's life planning. So I decided to create a life planning. And the idea behind, let's begin with this. Are you well organized and a methodical person? Oh, you guys can't see really well, can't you? Can you see better now? Awesome. So, that plans daily, weekly, and even months in advance. Then you're not me. Tanad, that's me. I am not that kind of person. I'm a mess. Usually, that's the best definition. I have a terrible memory. I can't remember what I talked to you in like 5 seconds. And usually, I think I planned something and then I didn't. And then this happened to me last week. I thought, oh, I planned a month in advance to go out with a friend, and then it got to the day, and I forgot that I had to meet with them 5 minutes ago. So this is not me. This is not a person that organizes and plans. This is why I came up with the idea of trying to find solutions, because I got a really bad feedback at work that I needed to get better. And this is always a good beginning, right? So I was researching how to get better at organizing myself and organizing things at work. And I volunteer here, I volunteer at church. I have a lot of places that I'm at. That's probably why my head is a mess. And I needed to find a way to organize. And I discovered life planners. Okay, why are they cool? They are a centralized place where you can put a bunch of stuff, okay? So for example, if you want to have self-care rituals, if you want to do dream planning, if you want to do mood tracking, if you want gratitude journals, if you want visual boards, budget planning, or task tracking, or even meal planning. So if you think about all of that stuff, you start thinking of a zillion of apps that you have on your phone to do all of this, right? That you probably do not update either way, but they're there. And then I tried bullet journaling for a long time. And I have probably 5 bullet journals that I have now in my house. 2 of them are a third filled with very sporadical fill-ups, basically. And I think having a place where I could put everything together was essential to me. So, but what was more essential than anything was that it needed to be portable, and I wanted to be free. This I didn't put in the presentation because I didn't want to sound budgety, but it needed to be somewhere that I could use on my computer, or I could use it on my phone when I'm walking. Why? Because usually when I have time to journal or to put anything down is actually when I'm in the train. And I'm not going to put out a planner and then 100 different pens, and then I'm going to start coloring, right? This is not going to happen. So it needed to be something that I could put it inside of my phone, or I could put it inside of the computer, and I would have access anytime that I want. Also, because if I'm making notes, I needed to be able to find them afterwards, which is another problem that I do with sticker notes everywhere, and then I can't find them. So a centralized place that I could pull it up my phone and do it was the goal. Okay, I talk a lot, so we will try to be really quick on this. Why Notion? Is because even though I think I'm creative, I'm not. And I needed to do something that was more creative than me. Also because I don't have the time to be creating the little like cute things that I want to create. And yeah, so this is kind of why I chose Notion. Second, here, let me show you what I mean by this. This is a budget tracker. Ta-da! It's for free. You can just connect to your Notion and ta-da! You have it. I would show you guys mine, but then you would know how much I make, and then I would be sad. Wait, sorry. And then for another option, oh my gosh, I should have closed this before. I did not thought of this through. Can anybody see it? If you're doing mood, don't laugh so much here in the front. If you're doing mood tracking, guess what? Already there, and it's beautiful. It's pink. You know, it already comes all that you want, and you don't need to have pass through all the creativity or to create the databases. They already come all prepared, and you just needed to select, maybe change the colors if you want to, and feel like you are the most creative person in the universe. That's what I feel. And then if you want to create a life planner, you can just pick it up something that is already pre-prepared. I also pick it up this one because it's pink and I love it. But you see how it comes with a lot of different things that you can do and come all prepared, and you can start changing and modeling as you go. So I think this is one of the big things that attract me to it, and they were all free. Everything that I showed you right now was free, so I and remember, budget friendly. Stimulus is organized. As you can see here on the side, I have all my little tracks or all the little different planning things that I have going on. I'm probably using like 3 of those, but I have all of them. And you may use for work. In my job, we do utilize Notion. And if you are not having a job, or if you are a student and you want to get started on something that could prepare you to the workforce, this is actually a very good thing, because a lot of people that have Notion as a superpower at work, because they can optimize and do it so much better because they know the tricks behind it. So you have much to gain. Okay, cascading pages. So of course, this is not what your cascading pages looks like, but I'm going to show you mine. And the idea is, if you have one page that connects to another, and then you can keep track of all your notes. So for example, this is my, I know I showed so much pink, and then mine is much more morbid than that, but I like this one, so this is why I use it. And then I am going to show you guys my work one, because I think it's the one that is best filled up. And then I have some projects that I'm working on right now for work. And then, for example, this one. And then I keep some notes from meetings and stuff like that that I'm not going to show you guys, of course. But you can see how they cascade, and you can have everything kind of organized. Yeah. Awesome. So here is another one that I'm going to show you, is the Journaling Hub. And you basically can create journal entries. And since they already come pre-prepared, if you want to create a journal entry, you already have everything organized. And then you can feel like you did it without the bulletin journaling part, where you can actually need to draw every rectangle. I think that's what got me to give up. Okay, so we're going quick on this. So, the cascading pages. Easy data entry. So here, for example, if I have a table, I can just create new ones here on the bottom. Here's one in the side. If you want to put a divider and separate parts, you have it. If you want to have like a, what's the word? Summary? No. Context? Well, it doesn't matter. Oh, type of context. Yeah, right there. You have all the bullet points, and then everything shows up. You can find yourself much easier like that. So I think it's really easy to use. They also have AI, I think, right here. I have it on my phone. Oh yeah, the AI block. And then you can use AI to fill up stuff. I don't know why you would do that for journaling, but I guess it was helpful. And then finally is graceful and flexible. So I think it's very, very useful if you want to try it out. Did that fix my problem? No, we just talked about how I forgot an event last week. But at least it's stuck a bit less now. It has improved my work skills, because now I have a track for my work and is my personal area. And it helps with my terrible memory, because I have everything wrote it down. And I think if you want to strive to be more organized, this is a good beginning. You feel good because it looks pretty. It's easy to get started, and it can help you in the future if you're looking for a job, or just so you can have records of yourself. So I would highly recommend it. And then you can come and struggle with me as we try to organize our lives. And yeah, that's it. I can open for questions, and no, I'm not going to show you guys my budget. Perfect. I did an amazing job.
All right, we do the company.
Yes. Now we're going to have the company intro. I should have stopped this before. Yeah.
Green energy is reliable and cheap. Yeah. And Kraken is basically B2B, and it's the global operating system for energy utilities. We enable retailers and customers to be charged with flexible time of use tariffs when where the energy is cheaper and where it's abundant. For example, when it's windy, it's generally cheaper. When it's sunny outside, it's generally cheaper. On some days, in the day, some hours, it's generally cheaper. We also provide, with us, you can also charge cars and power heat pumps when the energy is cheap, and many more, of course. Yeah, so we power the integrated solutions our planet needs. At the heart of that one giant platform, giant means 1.5 million of lines of code. It's pretty huge. Yeah, we have almost like 2,000 employees and hundreds of data deployments, and we have 54 million licensed customers globally and growing even more. We also support mental health and well-being with programs. We have parental groups, support for all minorities, and internal women in leadership programs, and many more. And actually, we are hiring. So if you are looking for a job, we have a lot of open positions. We have Pato and Francois here from our recruitment team. Can you? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you're looking for a job, just talk with them. Or you can also reach out to any Kraken employee. Sophia here, I see, and me as well. Yeah, and plus the plushies and everything that you see on the tables, stickers, and yeah, laptop covers. The camera covers are free, or you can try to win that over the grubber if you don't want to get it so easily. And if you need Wi-Fi, we have Octopus Energy Guest with a pretty unique password. We will also, like, after the break, I think during the break, there is a food in the kitchen. Feel free to grab one or many. Also the beverages. That's it from my side. Thank you for being here. All of them at once or one by one? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it working? It is.
Ugh, technology. Who would work with it, eh?
No, okay. If you guys got anxious for a second, imagine me. Screen share is stopped.
Okay. Our first speaker is Emin Mastizadeh. I hope I pronounced it correctly. He is a senior software engineer in Delivery Hero and moderator of Internal Python Guild, open source contributor, and he agreed to be speaker at the very last minute, so special thanks to him. Thank you.
There you go.
Oh, nice. Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. To be fair, I didn't check too much because I had only one day to prepare. I hope it is still good. So I want to talk about data modeling and also validation, because if you have worked with Python, it is dynamically typed language. But sometimes if you are working with data, you have to validate. And if you have integration especially, you have to validate what you are sending and what you are receiving. And for these use cases, we have this. So this is most widely used data validation library for Python. It is usually developed using, you create models using type hints, which is introduced in Python 3.6. And it comes with JSON schemas. It's very customizable. And it is mostly used I recently learned about it a few months ago. protein shape modeling, for example, in pharmaceutical science and so on, also uses this, and FastAPI, which is powering OpenAI and many other projects in AWS, NASA, and so on, are using this intensively. So if you have a data that you need to structure and bypass between different clients, this is the perfect for you. So this is the agenda for today. We want to see prerequisites, problem definition, and then how to solve each one of them. Main focus will be data models, validation, and settings. And then we will also see how you can use this in LLM models, for example, just a bonus. So for this, you need to be familiar a little bit with Python language, of course. You need to be familiar with data types, strings, list, tuple, things like that. Optionally, it will be nice to be familiar with Python web programming or any web programming, because this is the most common problems you will face, and this is perfect solution for problems that existed for a long time. And then data classes, which until Pydantic was the most common use case for modeling data. And after that, prior problems with JSON data. If you have worked with JSON data, you might have seen them. So we want to validate data integrity, which means for the same field, you might have different types, but they might have similarity. For example, a string can be a number, like decimals. They are they're numbers, but at the same time, they represent a string. So this is called data coercion, and Pydantic comes built in with that by default. But you can also disable it. It's very customizable. Typos, which is very common in programming. You might have a JSON. You want to parse some data from that JSON, but somewhere in the code base, you might have a typo, and you will not be able to find it. In here, everything converts to attributes. So if you have attributes, it will be auto-completed. And also, if you have typo, you will see in your editor or directly. And all the Python linters like code style validations, MyPys, everything also will validate your structure. So it will be impossible to make those mistakes. Incorrect values, parsing problems like it's usually becomes complicated when you have nested dictionaries, dictionary inside dictionary inside dictionary. And also problems like key error, type error, and so on. Then static typing, this is very good example. Dictionary string any. You might have seen this in many places. Any is something that some projects, teams, they actually forbid anyone using this any. It means it can be anything, and you cannot validate the data or flow of the application. So we want to avoid that. We also want good integration with all the editors like PyCharm, Visual Studio, Vim, or any editor you want. All of them should, not Vim, but NeoVim, but yeah, all of them should have a good integration. And enforcing typing during runtime. Now, we are not making Python statically typed. It's impossible, but we are making it type validated during the runtime, which means we validate every type, every attribute, and so on. And yeah, last part will be settings, which means .f, which is loading your environment from loading your values settings from the environment, which is part of the 12-factor deployment. It is how you manage your production environments. And this is usually useful to have different setup locally. So you just clone the repo, run the application. You don't have to modify too much. And also perfect setup for production where everything is optimized and all the settings are present. So this is data class in Python. Let's assume I have the class user, which is a data class. Now I can create a user in different ways. However, this will not validate. For example, I want my users' friends to be a list of ID numbers. But data class will not validate, are you really passing ID numbers or not? And similarly, I want my status of user to be special enum. Again, data class is not validating if you are really passing that special enum. I can do user, my status can be any random value, 5. Now, the same model here, user model, but now it is base class, derived from base class, base model. which is we have integer ID, we have name, list of friends. As you see, the typing is previously same as data class. It is type hint. What happens behind the scene? All these type hints will be converted to validators. And when I create user, it will automatically parse and validate everything I have. And as you can see, it automatically knows date time. For example, I press a random string, 2022. By the way, this is when I initially wrote this presentation. 2022, April 26, and it automatically converts to Python datetime object. And also validation error. When you have a problem with the data, how do you find it? Here, for an example, we send the unknown status, as we mentioned before. And when we have, it will automatically give you exception validation error, but then you can find the exact problem from that error itself. You can use it as a schema object or as a JSON object. And you will see exactly this output, which is value is not valid enumerator, permitted, active, or disabled. And in your log file, it will also be the one down, validation error for the user. So this have two use cases. If you have API endpoint and someone is calling your API endpoint, they don't have to contact you. They will see exactly what is wrong, and they will correct the data they're sending to you. And second use case, internally, when you integrate some other platforms, sometimes you might, let's say, few people are working on integration. One will write the client, one will write the other part that calls that client. And in this scenario, you want to define exactly what you need to send. And if the person developing the other part sends the wrong values, he will already know, he will, or she will already know this is a wrong value. So, and one nice thing, any model you define will come with OpenAPI compatible schema, which means all your documentation can be auto-generated. You don't have to update your documentation each time. Whenever you release, you will have up-to-date documentation ready, directly from the model schemas. Now, let's see one example for custom validators. In my user model, I don't want anyone to have a long name. Let's assume name in this scenario is username. I want only up to 10 characters. And here, I add a validator. And then in the validator, I define short names only, which is if the name is more than 10, raise a value error. Now, value error is built-in Python thing. Those built-in Python items, value error mostly, and there are a few more, they are converted to special exception called Pydantic validation errors, so that they have schemas, location, where the error happens, and all of that. So in this scenario, because this is a validator for the name field, when you have a wrong value, it will directly tell you the name field that you are passing is wrong, and this is the limitation for that name field. Now, this is only example. Normally for that, there are built-in validators, and built-in validators will give even more details. You can use up to 10 characters, all the other parameters you might have for the string or for integers, and it will give all details how to correct the data. These have, again, multiple use cases. One that we talked before, when you have a protocol with someone. Another one, when you work with LLM models. What happens is it communicates with the model until the model can provide you correct data. So next part, this is just add-on. This is not important, but you can also validate function arguments if you need to. I haven't seen much use case, but there are sometimes you might need it. So it is not only for models modeling the data. It's also for internal applications, functions, and so on. Now, these are possible types that are pre-built. For example, you can have a file path. You can have email address, internal database address, or anything like that. And it will automatically validate the values you are using are correct. So your application always knows it doesn't run with invalid value. And then you have ORM integrations and recursive models, which means nested models, and all of that. So you can have a user under the user, which is under the user, which is also possible. This is the recursive model. Final thing is settings management. Here we define a setting for any application, which is derived from base setting. In this scenario, I have authentication key, API key, database password, Redis address, and so on. Now, what it does is I specify, for example, in my scenario, check the folder var/run. If you see any secrets under that folder, use that one. Second option, check any environment value that starts with my prefix, which will be my prefix underscore aus underscore key. Check all of them, and there's a secondary option if var/run doesn't have that key. Then after that, you can have other fields and so on. And also you can have mapping to different environment values to these environment values. Now they changed. Now you can have aliases, which is much better. But yeah, idea here is you can support local environment where you have single file. You can have production environment where you have Docker environment, and many different possibilities. For example, I can give you from Delivery Hero experience, we have a central vault where every secret is stored, and they are automatically mounted under var secret. So any application that have this, they will get all secrets from the central repo, so you don't have to think about it in your programming. Useful few tools. This is especially useful if you are working with the web. You can allow some data points to be missing, some data points to be there. You can allow ignoring certain data points always to have your own default values or predefined values, and all of that. And you can have literal types. The usefulness for that is sometimes you have a data. It can be multiple different models depending on one field. Let's say I have a user, I want an API endpoint that creates a new user, and that can be admin user with different information, a normal user with different information. And I have API data point, which is user type. Depending on that, I will use different model. However, instead of that, you can create all of them, admin user, normal user, and so on. And all of them will have one extra field, user type, which is literal field, as you can see here, kind literal. And it have values directly built in the model, statically, like it's a constant. Then you will create a type adapter or union type in Python. Union is a built-in idea. You will see pipes in Python. That is a method how you create unions. And when you in the endpoint, you will just say, I want any user model, which is union of both user models. It will automatically find the model from the literal type and use that one to validate the payload. So you don't. This is not a best example for this, but there are examples, for example, for chat, where you can have file, status update, typing, stop typing. I worked in the chat project in Foodpanda, and you might have agent updates. Agent is joined, left, and so on. And you have a message. All of them are event. So by using literal type, you connect all of them to one model, and whatever comes, you will get one data type in your API endpoint. So depending on the data type, you will decide what to do. Sometimes you don't do anything. You just continue and save it for later processing. Sometimes you process that directly. But this saves you a lot of development also and validation. Another example was camel case. If you worked in Python and data, every time you have a camel case fields, it will warn you, you shouldn't use this according to the PEP 8 Python standards. And it's annoying. It's not a problem, but very annoying. In that scenario, you can create aliases for every field you have and use a Python best practice for all variable names. Now, this one is example from the Web API endpoint, Fast API. I have item, which is a model, have name, price, and a Boolean value. Is it offer or not? Which have 3 status: true, false, and none. Most of the time, it's useful for data. And then I have endpoints: read route, read item, update item. Very basic. All of them gets the item. As you can see, it's basic Python function. Get item, return some data. This documentation page, Swagger, is auto-generated from this whenever you run this. So you will get this part automatically. So whenever, what happens is we have stakeholders, some of them in Berlin, some of them in a lot of different countries, like, for example, one in Argentina, which is most problematic because of the time zone. And you update some endpoint and you want them to check it when they are working. So instead of that, we have one documentation page for every application, which is application endpoint/doc. And it is only internally accessible on our company network. But the good part is, we release, it is already up to date. We don't do any changes because it is part of the API endpoint itself. It's not something you have a file or something. It's auto-generated from Pydantic directly. And yes, it also provides you a test. You can click on the test, try it, and fill the forms. You will be able, it's like Postman pre-built. Now, last part, Pydantic AI. This is something new, I believe this year, probably. So if you have worked with LLM models, there is one problem. You will struggle to find a good database for that. The most mature one is pgvector, but most commonly used libraries don't support pgvector. Or sometimes support is not best. And this team, Pydantic team, they launched their own project for income. They are open source, but they need the income source also. This is monitoring platform Logfire, and they have AI suggestions and so on. They face the same problems, so they decided why not to integrate all of them to the Pydantic itself. And what happens? I want to communicate with my AI model, which is locally. I am using Ollama, and this is the script I wrote yesterday to test it, and it worked. I have Ollama running on localhost, but you can run it everywhere. It is model agnostic. You can have Gemini, OpenAI, DeepSeek, whatever you want. Public or local, doesn't matter. And I just tell it which model to use and what API to call. And then I create the agent. In agent, I say, this is my model, and this is the output I want you to provide me, which is city location. It should have name of the city and country. And I can add validators to that, like city should be that, and so on. Then I say, run my model, where were the Olympics held in 2012? And I want this agent to return me the Pydantic model. So I wait for the result and then print the test. City is London, country is United Kingdom. There is no extra text, no parsing. It is the LLM model will automatically return the data model you created. And this is the LLM example. We use that for analytics, for many different stuff. Where you want, I want you to give me this schema, this is my validation, and anything else you give, I will crash. And tell you why. So what happens with this agent? I have a debug open in the Ollama, so I can also see how it communicates. It might return different results, but each time it will tell you, we went in the beginning, there is a validation error with all the description and JSON schema. It will send that schema to the LLM model. This is the problem with your response. Please give me the better response. And it will fix itself and return you what you expected. And yeah, you can also use such details. Additional resource, if you want to learn more, Pydantic itself have amazing documentation. And there are 2 projects list, Awesome Fast API and Awesome Pydantic. I believe all the slides will be shared after the meeting. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So yeah, anyone have any questions? Anyone worked with data modeling before?
I do, but it's usually SQL based. You know.
Similar. We have all the PyPG queries based on the Pydantic also, because of the ORM model.
That's one of the things that was in my head. I don't know how dumb it is because, of course, I don't know Pydantic really well. But
questions.
no dumb questions, sure. How complex it is usually, since you have experience on it, to pass a project that you already have to be part of Pydantic and utilizing all those features? Because it seemed like it extends somewhat the code because you need to add like extra documentation and extra information.
I didn't get it. Sorry. Can you
So how complex is for somebody that is starting with Pydantic to transfer a project that they already have into Pydantic? Usually it's very straightforward, or it requires a lot of learning beforehand.
So first of all, depends on the project. Like if it is Django project, then Django already have models. So and Django models almost one-to-one match Pydantic models in the ORM mod. So you can easily map them. And there is already a project, Django Ninja, which is, they learned the best parts from the Fast API, and they brought that idea to the Django itself. If you are running a huge monolith application, amazing project. And in that scenario, you can integrate both ORM model of Django and Pydantic models and make them work together. I believe it should be possible to have single model for both of them. Another scenario will be API endpoint built with micro frameworks, Flask maybe. What you will have either message spec or data class or some other item for the API payloads. So those can be easily converted to Pydantic. Just change, instead of data class, we saw in the user example, from the decorator, you change to base model class. The rest is almost the same, because if you are writing good code, you will have a type hints. I mean, today type hints in many projects I worked is must-have, because people are coming and leaving, so you don't expect anyone to keep in mind what was the type of certain item. So just remove everything after the type hint. Now you have validation ready.
It seems very straightforward.
Yeah, we have done that. We had a huge project from 6 or 8 years ago, which was Flask with message spec. We wanted to move it to Async.io, and we decided to use Fast API and Pydantic. All the message specs easily converted to Pydantic. That was the first step. So first, inside that, convert models. The second step was slightly start converting the sync endpoints to async endpoints. And it was very smooth progress. Like in 3 months, we delivered, it was the biggest code base in the entire tribe. And we delivered that in 3 months with 3 people.
Very good.
It is very useful tool. It makes your work much easier, because if you have everything structured and validated, it makes harder to make mistake. And this is our goal with everything. Like, it should be really hard for a person to make a mistake. And this is why LLM good example, because LLM always makes a mistake, and you want to prevent that. So if developer is limited in that scenario, then project will move faster. Also, you had a question.
Yeah, just curious about the fact how, for example, the example that you were showing was city, London, and then country, United Kingdom, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of course, in this particular case, you are not verifying the accuracy of that. You are just verifying that it matches with the schema and everything, right? So it could say London and Germany, and of course it would pass, but that's something else, and that's something you're going to do with Pydantic. Maybe you have to use something else for that, right?
Yeah, of course. Like data hallucination in LLM models are most common thing. Like this time I was lucky; it gave these values, but 1 out of 10 maybe it will be Berlin.
Oh yeah, so
I don't know. And this is one of the biggest problems with training, because we had this, we wanted to make it easy for product support to support basic stuff that we already have documented. And we realized sometimes it will give the answer, it is the wrong answer, but because similar question exists in different documents, and it doesn't know which one to use in which scenario. All of them are indexed in the same way. And this is a problem with LM model, but unrelated to modeling or validation.
Maybe a follow-up question on that. I don't know if it's a dumb question, but so it says request tokens in the result usage. So does this validation, does it use more tokens? More like a paper token, like does it increase the costs or?
Very good question. For that, I can answer a little bit later. What I will do, I will run this now in my laptop, and will tell you which one used how many. If you are not familiar, Ollama is an amazing local tool. You can run any model, and you can also debug any model. And yeah, if you have on the laptop, 7B models are limit you can go. Okay, do we have the next presenter? Or?
We are now taking a break and getting something to eat. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Last minute.
It's really good. Actually, I didn't, so I just
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining in, and also I know most of you are eating, so I'm hoping the presentation is really good and lively, in some ways engaged, because I know everyone is carving up. So I hope the presentation doesn't make you sleep. And so I have also added a few nice quizzes and some things which are a bit more interactive. So I know your hands must be busy, but if not, if you have one hand that you can give ahead and just scan this QR code, then you can go into Mentimeter, and yeah, it'll make the I guess the whole presentation a bit more interactive. Awesome. Okay, yay. If not, if someone hasn't scanned yet, just let me know. I'll go back, or I'll try to get the scanner up. But let me go ahead and start. Hi, everyone. As was previously said, I'm Archana. I currently work as a program manager, but most of my work has been around communities. So I started as an AI engineer somewhere in 2017-18, so really pre-GPT time. And, sort of went through the whole cycle of building models from the ground up and not really using an API for everything, and then worked with different communities. So when I started off, I was working with automotive companies and logistics like DHL, etc. And then I switched to working with communities like Women Who Code, where I worked as a product manager and helped to build out a community platform for around 350,000 folks. And then I also then shifted towards working with AI safety. And I'm currently a board member at a few nonprofits in the US. Most of them are DEI based. But yeah, at Wimel and another one called Women Who Do Data. And so my background is mostly in community, and I love building community products. So one of the products I'm going to talk about today is something that I built, and something I'm hoping people use. And as a personal goal of mine, I want to build something that's open source and really valuable to people out there. So yeah, that's the, I guess, premise of everything here. And yeah, so today's agenda is I'm going to be talking a bit about AI inefficiencies, or basically talk about AI usage that we do every day. And then I'm going to do a bit more deep dive into the carbon footprint, because I think it's a different way to think about how we are using these products every day. And then I will talk about the Python package I basically built and how it can be used. And I'll also talk about the extension that was built. And then obviously question and answer and ways to contribute. And feel free to ask questions anytime. As said, there's no dumb questions. We all started at a certain place, so feel free to ask me questions, feel free to interrupt, put your hand up, and I will love questions always. Awesome. So just a bit about how we started Scale Down, or how exactly Scale Down fits in. So Scale Down is basically like a Python package, and it fits in between the users and AI models. So right now we have a Python package and an extension, and you can check it out at this URL. But yeah, so it's a Google Chrome extension. And there's a lot of text here. We'll go through it again, but essentially what we do is firstly look at prompts, and you can choose styles, and then we help you to optimize or reduce AI tokens. Someone spoke about tokens recently, I heard. Yeah, so I'll also talk about what that means. And finally, talking about minimizing carbon footprint. So first I'll do a backward approach here. So first start with carbon footprint and make you understand what I mean by AI emissions and why does it matter to people who are using, these models. Okay, so, I'm now introducing the quizzes, and don't worry, there's no right or wrong answers in most cases, I think. So don't worry at all. It's more like a fun way to understand us. And of course, it's anonymous. So you don't need to worry at all. I won't know who clicked on what. So the idea is really just to understand how we are using these models, right? So yeah, so the first question is how many of you used tools like GPT or similar AI tools in the last 24 hours? And what was it used for? Work, maybe personal research, or entertainment? So yeah, I think you should be able to put your, yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, awesome. So a lot of people have used it for work and for personal research, which is great, and entertainment as well. And maybe like stuff like using Notion AI is also personal research somewhere. Yeah, and also like yeah, as a recent study showed, most people are using AI regularly for their everyday interactions. And okay, so how many of you find yourself sort of refining or rephrasing some content of your initial query, right? Like you prompted these models, maybe use GPT, Claude, or n number of tools that are already available. And do you see yourself refining it or rephrasing it sometimes? And again, not a right or wrong answer here, more like trying to understand where everyone is sitting and what they think is happening. Yeah. Awesome. So a lot of people are using and changing their prompts often, as well as like very frequently, which is also great. And some of you are doing it sometimes, which is also good because like a lot of people I think tend to dump their thoughts as well to the model, but it's great that you're thinking before you're typing and then sending it. And that's one of the things that I built around as well. Yeah. And so yeah, there was a study done where they figured out that yeah, people are actually refining their AI queries and they're working on refining them always. So yeah, a little bit again towards the technical side, but this I think would be like a bit more understandable to a lot of people in the field. And I usually draw like fun comics, so you can check out my Substack, and these are like fun comics from it. But yeah, so what are tokens, right? So tokens are basically like units that AI models process, and tokens are the way that you actually like break down sentences, right? And why tokens are important is it makes us understand how exactly AI is processing all your queries, right? So every interaction that you have is actually containing a number of tokens. So let us say it's like a sentence like "I love AI." So the model can actually break it down into 4 tokens, or maybe break it down into 3. It really depends on the type of tokenizers, but at the end of the day, that's how it's interacting with your particular query. Yeah. So why is it important to understand tokens, right? So at the end of the day, most models, what they're trying to do is, especially stuff like GPT, which is a type of autoregressive transformer, is that they're trying to predict the next word. So let us say you said the cat sat on the dash. All it does is look at the words in the context, or look at the words previously said to it, and then sort of like guesses mat or table or something of the sort, right? So most models are essentially trying to guess the next word. And that is very important because that's how they process tokens and then predict the next word. So let's do like a quick experiment here to understand tokens, and why breaking down tokens sometimes is much more easier. So let us say there was a huge prompt here that I'm writing a comprehensive research paper on the impact of climate change and a lot of information around, right? And we ran it through a model and they said, okay, it's like 125 tokens as such. But can we take this and actually like write it in a much more concise manner? So it turns out we can, and it actually just uses 57 tokens. So there itself is the difference between using structured via not structured prompts, right? And actually like removing words that the model doesn't really need, because all it's doing is predicting the next word. So this is an interesting case study, or like a small bit, a bit here to understand why AI efficiency matters. Let us say Sarah is a freelance content creator and she relies heavily on AI tools for research and so on. And so she, like many of us here who took the quizzes as well, maybe is asking GPT for creating content ideas, and then goes on to actually doing like fact checking or actually asking for synonyms. And each query, let us say, takes about 30 seconds. And she makes about 40 queries in 2 hours, right? And then again, she spends the day like almost 45 minutes describing and refining her prompt to actually get the right sort of image or right sort of text that she's looking for. And yeah, let's say towards the end of the day, she again spends 30 minutes tweaking her prompts to make sure it is actually satisfactory, and also like she's interacting with the model continuously. Right, so, okay, yeah. So one way in which, like, let us say now you saw all of Sarah's like interactions and you wondered, oh my God, she's spending a lot of time just interacting with the model and helping to refine her prompt over and over again. Let us take a situation where we say, okay, like Sarah is not spending this much time interacting with the model and refining her prompt. What if instead she could like, do something with the save time? Like, she could take on more projects or improve work-life balance or learn new skills or increase creativity at work. So that's what we hope to achieve with a model like this as well. And yeah, so like let us say if you could actually reduce your AI interaction time by 40% while achieving the same results, how would you use that save time? Like you're not spending that much time refining your prompts and actually sending it to the models always. This is again like no right answer. Feel free to choose whatever answer fits you best. But the idea is that okay, like I'm helping you create better prompts, and by doing that, I'm helping save time. And that's what my approach is here. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving your answers. So now we come to the interesting part of it. How exactly or what is the carbon footprint of your AI usage, right? So how many of you have actually used an AI tool like GPT or Claude instead of a Google query? And again, I don't know like who, yeah, you can just feel free to say yes or no, and it's anonymous, so we don't know who it is, but feel free to tell us like if you've used it. Yeah, we have all used it instead of having a Google query, right? And that's perfectly fine. But actually someone took like a tweet by Sam Altman and sort of reverse engineered it to understand what is the certain amount of how much power goes into each request. So this is the tweet that he put out in 2022, actually was for GPT-4. And so now it would have been enormously like increased for the newer models, but taking that particular tweet and sort of reverse engineering it, and this was actually done by Stack Exchange, they realized that each request actually costs like 0.15 euros per kilowatt hour, which actually equals to 60 smartphone charges of 5 watts per hour per charge being sent when you actually send a query to these models. So this includes power for actually getting the data centers running, and also power that is required to actually cool down these data centers, right? So all of those actually contribute towards power and carbon footprint. And so why exactly does it matter, right? I know for a fact that these models were built in data centers. So why do I care? I'm just interacting with the model in a testing manner, right? So that's where like it's a different approach to thinking why right now interactions cost much more carbon footprint than the training itself. And that's what I'll cover here. So this is like a very nice paper. It's actually pretty old as well. You can check it out. And it talks about why, sustainability in AI is sort of changing right now. So this was like this really good paper by Meta, where they broke down what does a life cycle analysis commonly look like, right? So this is something people would know often. A typical machine learning model development looks like this, right? You have data, you have experimentation, you have training, and then you have inference. So experimentation is where you figure out, oh, what are the right hyperparameters to train my model? And training is where they would actually require, again, like a lot of compute to train the model. And inference is what we do every day, right? We send questions to these models, and that's a way of testing, or called inference here. So like this is the basic life cycle that goes behind it. Yeah, so training is again like it utilizes recent extensive production data, and training frequencies are usually less, right? So it might happen like they might do it once or twice, or depends on maybe like 10-20 times, but you have to realize in that comparison inference happens so much more. Every day that you're using the model, you are sending requests to these models, and maybe like happening billions of times or millions of times at least. And that is what is important here. Like training happened way less time, but inference happens way more time. And they were able to calculate that across Facebook's data centers, it's almost more than doubling in the past 3 years alone, right? And this is another interesting graph, and you don't need to go into too much of the technical details, but it tells you the difference between offline training, inference, and online training. And if you can see here, inference is actually the highest carbon footprint. And this is again by the paper by Facebook. So you can go check it out, and it explains a bit about how did they come to this. But it basically shows that now inference costs much more to these models in terms of carbon footprint than training did. Oh yeah, I think like this is a very interesting question, I think, for most people here. Again, like no judgments, but how many of you will like actually use like I guess the Ghibli creator to create like an image of yourself or someone else in Ghibli style? And again, like maybe you use AI to obviously write or edit text, and then you also done both or neither yet. So this is again a very easy question. I hope like this makes sense, and maybe you have like seen it on social media or done it yourself. And again, no judgments here. Most of us have already done it. The idea here is to just give you information around it and hope that this information helps people moving forward and the way that they interact with models, right? So awesome. Actually, not a lot of you have created Ghibli images, which is good. or done both, which is also fine. But yeah, yeah.
Disney images.
Yeah, Disney images, but like Ghibli was something that everyone did, so I picked that. But yeah, any image generation as well, right? So awesome. So I'm going to just explain very quickly about this another paper which is very famous around understanding how power hungry processors are in terms of AI deployment. What is interesting about this paper is this particular graph. So if you see here, and I don't know, I hope it is visible, but if you notice, these are all the text-based tasks that are possible. So text classification, maybe image classification, object detection, multitask extraction, etc. So when you look at like NLP as such, we have various like tasks that are related to text, and this is like the model emissions for those, right? And this is all text up till here, and immediately if you look at this is actually image generation. So you can see there's almost like a 10 times or more than that jump just for image generation. So every time you prompt GPT to give you a good image or Sora to give you a good image, there's actually a lot of emissions going behind it. And there's enough like data and research to prove that it is so. Yeah, so we did like a bit of calculation again, like I used the semi-analysis. And this is again like not the current model, not Sora. This is DALI 3, which is like way previously, but unfortunately OpenAI is not very open, so we have to figure out where like almost like reverse engineer everything. So we were able to say that DALI 2 was basically 2.2 grams of CO2 per image, and DALI 3 was at least 4 grams of CO2 per image, just by reverse engineering what data we had. So yeah, that brings me to the product that I made and how did I go about making something. So this product that I actually made is, most of my background is also in electrical engineering and power energy systems. And one of the things I immediately realized while like being an AI engineer is that these models require compute, right? And these our current power grids and our current data centers are like, you know, this mounting pressure on them. And I was like, yeah, we can calculate carbon footprint. So the first thing that I actually did was create like a extension to track the carbon footprint of your query. So like if you sent a query to GPT, I was able to tell you how much was the carbon footprint behind it. And when I actually released this was somewhere last year or maybe the starting of last year. The first thing that happened is not a lot of people used it, right? Because they realized it was making them feel bad. Like, some of you already are about your queries, right, with GPT. So there was a bit of guilt, like we don't want to like engage with tools that simply tell us how bad we are, right? So yeah, so in that reason, I actually moved towards something called like prompt optimization. So now I was able to take your prompts and your queries, actually help reduce the tokens within it, and tell you then the carbon that you see, right? Which was great again, because we were able to get to more people that way, and people were at least downloading the extension and interacting with it. And then we went a step further, which is what I'm going to be talking about in the rest of the slides, which is the current approach where we realized we can also help people write better prompts in the first place. And if they're writing better prompts, they are eventually going towards the goal of reducing the number of tokens and reducing the overall carbon footprint. So that's the idea here, and this explains like the journey sort of to make like a community powered ecosystem like this. Okay, so I hope I've done too much talking already. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you a quick demo of how it works, and also gonna like wait for a few questions, and then I'm gonna move to the next part. So yes, I hope this is visible, or I can zoom in even more. Okay, so this is like a typical query where I feel like a lot of people do. We usually write a lot of please and we say thank you so much for your assistance, and that's how we actually interact with these models, right? So the idea is, okay, like can you actually take something like this, and this is how the extension looks like. It's very simple. The idea is, oh, can we actually take this prompt and help optimize it? And I also have these templates here. So let us say you didn't know where to start, and I'm like this multilingual, like a lot of us here are multilingual speakers, right? Like, and a lot of thought doesn't come in English always. So I feel like, okay, if I have like a template to start off with, it helps me block or like unblock that part and write, particular prompts. So yeah, so this is like a preloaded prompt if you want to use it. Yes. So here it tells you, okay, it's a bit complex and there's a detailed prompt behind it. Okay. And then this is also pretty interesting and something that I put in like a few months ago only. But I realized a lot of people now, especially after DeepSeek and other models, they want to like chat with a particular style, like maybe say, oh, pretend you're an expert in something. So for that as well, I have an expert mode here. Or pretend that, you're creative or chain of thought, right? Break down and think about it, right? So I was like, okay, we can add the prompt styles as well. So after you add the prompt style, now you can see it actually tells the prompt in that particular style. And it tells you, okay, carefully look through this request, break down the problem, and provide a detailed step-by-step solution. And then we click on analyze and optimize. And what I do out here is basically, I have a pre-trained model already that I run, and I help to reduce the number of tokens your request has and reduce the prompts with it. So this was like, let us say your original, and then I was able to do like a 37% reduction to actually reduce the number of tokens involved in the original prompt. And then you can insert the prompt, and also you can see, this is where I'm actually using the carbon footprint. You can see the amount of carbon you saved, where you started versus where you ended, and you can basically see that through your prompts, you're actually writing better efficient prompt, but most importantly, the carbon footprint is less. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I will pause here for any questions that you folks might have and then move towards explaining a bit about the Python package and how exactly do I do optimizations. Yes. Yeah, sure. Yes, yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes. And so a really interesting topic, and thank you for your presentation. I do have a mini question. First of all, how do you estimate the initial carbon footprint? Because you said you do, but the first tool you developed, which didn't find so many people using it, was about estimating the carbon footprint of a single query. But again, to my knowledge, there's a lack of data out there from OpenAI, for instance. And in order for you to do it, you probably need to know in which data centers it's run, which
data center
is used in those data centers. So how do you get those information?
That's a really interesting question. I put it in my appendix because I thought no one would ask that. But yeah, the data center question is very interesting. So, over here, this person is basically asking about, okay, so where exactly these models are hosted also affect the overall carbon footprint as well. For example, most places in Asia use coal for fuel or like running their data centers or getting power. But if you look at Europe, there can be like a lot of sustainable elements involved. So the way that I came up with it was actually take out the average of those particular places. So no matter where it's hosted, we are getting an average estimate. And the estimate we give you here as well is still on the lower side. So you could actually save much more carbon, but we're giving you a lower estimate of it. And we also take into account, so we run this particular model called Grok, which is GROQ. It's not the K1. Apparently that's very unsustainable, the one that Elon Musk is running, but yeah. So we actually use Grok, which has its own efficient hardware, and they already like talk about their carbon footprint. So we are able to reduce that and then give you the estimated carbon footprint involved. So we take that into the calculation.
Do you have a Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do you have because there are different methodologies out there from researchers? Say, give examples how to measure those. I think you had from Sasha Lucioni. One of those papers. Are you using one of those to then do the calculation? Or?
So Meta actually releases their entire carbon footprint every year, and all the Llama models actually have the carbon footprint now. So using that, we're able to form the basis of calculation for the others. For OpenAI, it's much more of an estimate. For other models, we can actually calculate much more nearer. Yeah, but I'm happy to like show you the package as well, and you can check it out. Yeah, dig around. Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, sure.
My first remark was that currently Google is also returning AI generated summary, let's say, of the question search. So what can you do with that?
Yeah.
And second one, how the amount of generated token come into account of calculation of this carbon footprint.
Amount of generated token, can you explain that a bit? Like, what do you mean by that?
The answer of language model.
So that is something we can't count currently. We don't know how much is required for the output, but according to our research, and that's something we have done over the last year, is we have realized there are a lot of industries and people every day who are using a lot of text to interact with the model. And that is something you can control, right? But actually how the models run, you can't, because they are closed source, right? A lot of Claude, for example, Claude GPT, we don't even know how big they are or how they are running it. And those are the ones that are used the most, right? So we can't really control how the output is. But one place where actually someone used our Python package was email summarization, for example, because there you have a lot of redundant tokens on the footer of the email and on the header, right? And that company was like, I can't keep feeding my model this all the time. Like they reach their context limit very, very quickly, and B, like it's not really sustainable. So they were like, yeah, can we actually reduce the tokens? And that's where the Python package also fits perfectly. But something like this is great because email summarization, customer support tickets, people tend to write in a very verbose manner, is what we have realized. And most models don't need that much information. And if they're guessing the next word, they don't need a please and thank you. So that's what we're operating on as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, please.
I want to know how about the carbon footprint for those models that are locally running. Is there any?
Yeah, I think that will be depending on the type of model you use. I think, again, like if you're using Llama models, you will know what is the carbon footprint behind it because they release it. So you can somewhere like estimate. But yeah, I think like locally, it'll be like a different metric altogether. Like then you'll have to take into consideration the data center. There is like this thing that Sasha released called Code Carbon, which is like really good. Another Python package I think they have, where they actually like work on the developer side and they help to understand, like, given your this MLOps infrastructure, we can tell you what is the carbon footprint behind it. So you can check that out.
And also, somehow, a follow-up question. This carbon footprint is also something that is related to the hardware that you're using. Probably the one that's, for example, Google or Llama, Facebook is Meta. Has released is somehow related to their data center.
Yeah.
But so does it also related to the hardware that we are using, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So they tell you what kind of GPUs they are using, and the calculation that comes from it actually comes from the hardware itself. So when you actually calculate this, they have like a raw factor that they calculate that just comes from the from the data center on its own and the hardware involved. And that is why we are using Grok, because you can go check out Grok. Grok has its own efficient hardware, so it's able to reduce like the carbon footprint much a lot, and is also able to reduce the latency. So if if we were giving you prompts in a very long time, people would get frustrated, right? So we want to like reduce the time it takes you to get the input prompt at least. So those factors also come into play. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah.
One thing that would you then recommend people to directly go to Grok first of all instead of going to ChatGPT? So that's one. And the second thing is, could you talk a little bit more about the prompt that you create for Grok to optimize this? That's the second layer of prompt.
So first question, can you go to Grok directly? You can, but Grok doesn't have the interface that GPT does. And at the end of the day, we know for a fact that GPT models are really good. Right, that's why it's used everywhere right now. Everyone like sends an API to them. It's just really good. Nothing else comes close, and that is something we realized. Right. The second question was what kind of prompts you send. So we still send like the input prompt, but what we've actually done is we've also pre-trained our own model. It's based on something called LLM Lingua, and we have pre-trained our own model to make sure that your prompt retains all the important information that is necessary and only removes the unnecessary tokens from it. So we are not only using Grok, we are also using LLM Lingua, especially over the API, because when we talk to businesses or like customers, like they want to like actually use something that's useful for them, and it's much more like trained for that specific use case. And again, like Grok is much more general purpose. It's not trained for prompt compression. Does that answer? Yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Isn't it like also in benefit of the company who owns some, for example, ChatGPT, to use such an algorithm for their benefit? Like they are, besides the emission, it's also costly for them. Why don't many large language model provider not already filter down and filter out the please and everything from messages?
Yeah.
Or do they?
I think like to a certain extent they're incentivized not to. So you have to realize something, that tokens is actually like an exponential graph, the number of tokens that is consumed over time. So let us say you started with one input and one output from the model. The next time you give an input, it's taking in the input you gave before and the output you gave before. So tokenization is like a multiplication effect, right? And obviously when you're talking to GPT, it's $20 a month and it's heavily subsidized on their end. But a lot of people we talk to, the API costs a lot when you start like using it for purposes especially like customer support or email summarization, and that's where like people are like, yeah, because APIs like the cost is based on the number of tokens. So if the tokens increases, so does the cost. Yeah. Yeah, you had one more question.
Yes, I had another question.
Sure, no worries.
Oh, okay. So is there any kind of like normalization in the process of this question and answering, because it's somehow like a generative. Right now, what we are talking is about like generative AI. It's not other kind of AI. So is there any kind of you somehow ran into it that, for example, two different people are asking the same question and it doesn't have any context. So the model doesn't need to generate two different things. So
I think to a certain amount, most models and these subscribers do caching. So it's called caching, where they actually like store the results if the question is asked quite often, right? So they do that already. When it comes to like writing better prompts, is where like I'll explain right after this, is like you need a much more community centric approach, because right now every provider is so different, and there's almost nothing that helps you through different providers, right? Like you have GPT, you have Claude, you have DeepSeek, you have every other model, and people just have to write from scratch for all of them, right? So the idea is that there should be a unified way to approach it, and that's why I sort of created this as well, so that it's a much more community centric approach, and you're writing things that in the long term are consistent across models and good for a particular use case. Can I just cover your question right after that segment if you're fine with it? Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so I covered like the carbon footprint aspect. I just want to quickly talk about the write prompts and choose styles as well. So that is another part which I offer in the scale down library. And so we like help to give like domain specific prompts for specialized fields, and then we help you to figure out, okay, this is the response style that you can add to it. And then we have a library of community contributed prompt templates. So we started off with a few, but obviously we depend on community to actually contribute to templates as well. So some of the writing templates like come under these categories, like technical, business, creative. And then you have like the fact that you can actually contribute your template, right? Like how do you end up making sure that it's effective over time? Like we do understand AI usage that happens over time, but we're also hoping the community will give feedback and improvements for such templates. So this is like the link if you want to scan, and I can quickly jump onto the, yes, okay. So this is a place like I quickly generated like a short site just to like make sure that there's a UI in case you want to like contribute to templates. So this is like some of the templates I put down, but you can like contribute to templates. You can also put in your name and submit it. So if you submit a template to us, we'll put it out there with your name. And then you can also like contribute to templates, suggest changes, and then we can track the changes over time. The idea is that it's a much more approach where people actually contribute to how these prompts are made, because I realized like if I put up prompts there, like not everyone would agree to it and not everyone would agree to how I structure it, and it should be something that should be common amongst most models, right? And another thing that's actually there in the package that I've done is, so Meta and Anthropic, they release their prompting guides, so you know how to prompt their models. So right now, like on the package side, I help you actually structure your prompt according to the guide. So that's a step in the model itself, and it's again like open source, so you can see how exactly it's fetching and changing it for that particular guide. Yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay, so I had a quick question here. So, but like, yeah, why use like I know I've talked a lot about templates. Like, why use templates instead of writing prompts from scratch? Does it help with that? The fact that templates are always shorter than custom prompts, or like templates guarantee perfect AI response every time, or templates provide structure and save time while maintaining consistency, or templates sort of bypass token limits on AI models? Yeah, a quick question here again, like feel free to answer or you can go ahead as well. And what is interesting I'll talk about after this is around like understanding, like building like a community tool. At the same time, I realize it's never perfect. Like there are always like areas where I can improve and areas where something like this always needs help. And I'll be talking about that as well. But yeah. Okay, so now coming to like the second part, which is just optimizing AI prompts and reducing tokens. So we first understand all the unnecessary phrases and we make sure we're preserving meaning, and we apply best practices for each models, again based on guides released by those providers, and verify that the optimized prompt actually produce the same results. So this is a very interesting question that I get asked often, is that so let us say this particular question here, right? So like how much do you think like a prompt like this can be reduced? Like how many tokens can you reduce from a prompt like this? And yeah, so this is like the question, and like I have a QR code here, so you can just scan this. If you scan this QR code, there's an app where you can try adding the prompt that's already there and try like pressing it and seeing the token reduction you get. Like yeah, you will tend to get like different token reductions like every time you send it through the model, but you can try like doing it, like sending your particular prompt for through the scale down API and see if it's actually reducing the prompts and like how much is it reducing every time. And this question I get asked often is that, yeah, like how is it changing every time you send the prompt in, right? So yeah, so quick explanation to why that happens. So we actually have like three paths to the optimization pipeline. One, like that parses the input, analyzes the content, and identifies key components of the prompt. Then there's semantic optimization and removing unnecessary phrases, and then generate the optimized prompt and sort of maintaining the same semantic meaning, right? And so just for doing this, like wherein like at the end of the day you can have different responses when you reduce the prompt size, we actually came up with this prompt consistency gauge. This is again a much more developer centric tool where you can actually check this out as well. What we do is we try to use different compression rates, and then we try to actually get the original response and compressed response from something like this. And then we try to run consistency test over multiple iterations. So we see that, okay, if you're running this through 10 iterations, are we getting the same response, right? And as you use the tool and when you scan the QR code, you would have noticed that when you ran it again and again, the output actually changed, right? And that's because of the fact that, at the end of the day, even if we train a model, it's not consistent over a single prompt all the time. And that is another place where I feel the community can really help out, because it's impossible to know where it's always failing and then sort of change it and improve it. Yeah. So you can also like choose specific models here to actually run it on the prompt optimization. Yeah. So that's another great place to contribute, because most of us don't know like if reducing tokens will maintain the consistent output. It does maintain the consistent output, at least for fields that are very heavily input token heavy. But yeah, this is one of the places where the community can help. And I also put up like a site here that you can go check out, which has a way to, give us results for those prompts and put it on a leaderboard, and then we can look at whether like it encourages users to sort of submit their results and learn. And of course, like I also have the Python package, and I'll show that, but there's like specific files in the Python package that you can also check out and see if you can, add any optimization guides or improve the consistency testing framework that we have for this guide-based optimizer class. Yeah, so this is where the package is. It's called Scale Down package. It's open sourced at the moment. I did like push out a lot of files in the last few days, so you can see the recent commits. But yeah, and yeah, so I've also added a few examples here. So some of them are using, for example, LangChain and Llama Index, and alongside a RAG like workflow or example. So the idea is that they can fit easily into your existing workflows. And yeah, so there's also interactive demos. And so if you look at the test pack folder, there's an interactive Python file where you can go through all the different steps and yeah, help to run your prompts. So I had this here really quickly. Oh, 1 second. Yeah, so this is what the interactive Python file looks like. So you can actually like choose the template and then like choose the particular, select the style to create, like, for example, if you want an expert style, select the model and actually like help produce your prompt. So this just gives you an idea of what the interactive test file looks like. And this is the, this is the, like, this is actually the Llama index, file. So I just like put a video here, but you can go check it out and also comment. So I help you like load like a example, a basic example for retrieval augment, like a RAG application. And then I help you to perform like a baseline comparison, that the amount of tokens you take and how much for the completed tokens. And then you can actually integrate scale down, and I help you see and compare the results. So like, so this is like the estimate prompt tokens. This is like the estimate completed tokens and the token savings as well, in case you're using a RAG based application. And then you can obviously see, I'll pause it here. You can see like the orange ones are scaled down. You can actually see what it is when it's actually optimized the token usage. So I think I've like droned on enough for a very long time now. So just coming towards the end, like there's ways to contribute. I also have like a QR code here. Feel free to scan it and suggest places where you would love to contribute, be a part of something like this. Again, I'm basically doing it on the side and trying to just build something. I think I told someone in the call as well in the drive, and I was like, I just want to build some open source package that actually helps people and helps to like do something good. And that's the idea behind it. If you're interested, feel free to contribute, feel free to ask questions. And thank you again so much. Happy to take more questions. You had a question, right? Yeah?
One question is too small.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, of course. Feel free to,
So I wanted to know, when you give the difference and you show the difference what you saved, do you also calculate slightly on the own emissions caused by using
Grok.
Additional AI? So you subtract your...
Exactly. So I subtract that and then I give you the lower side only. So it's still on the way lower side of the carbon footprint that you saved. Yeah.
And the question is, I mean, now you're focusing, which is really cool, on carbon.
Yeah.
But there are also really studies coming out that assess the water footprint actually, which use similar approaches but consider the water footprint due to the water used in energy production or the water used in the data centers.
Yeah.
Is it, and just for future and extensions in case you
of course.
I think this is really also really interesting, because this topic gets really big lately, since it's not little water consumption.
Of course. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, happy, like if you want to contribute, just feel free to like, post it there. And if you have some resources, that'll also be great, because we can start looking into it and, putting there, like we just need some metric so that actually developers can understand that when they're using it, or like people every day can understand that, and it's like consumable for everyday people. Yeah. Any other questions?
So actually.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Where can we read your comics? And
nice.
When is the Firefox version coming out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, so the Chrome store was easy to upload, so we did that really quickly. But Firefox is next. there are a lot of other places. Well, I guess like Ecosia was another like a place that someone suggested, because they're already very green and sustainable in that way. So there's ways to improve and change it. So thank you for that. And you can check out my newsletter at tinyml.substack.com. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Is there something planned for some evaluation if the prompt is actually useful in AI? Like if somebody wants to generate an image of the hex code FFFF, my AI might be the wrong place.
That's a good question.
Is there an option, or is there a plan to add some, are you sure you want to pick this AI and not something?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, right? Yeah, I mean, definitely we can add. I just want to make sure that people really enjoy using something like this. The moment they feel bad about it, they stop using it. And like, that's the only thing I want to like, I feel like the information should be much more like passive. And the hope is that, they go click the leave button and they know the sustainability angle, and eventually they feel like interacting more and reducing carbon more. And Thanks. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you for your great project and your talk. It's super interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Interesting. I was wondering, so you were speaking about large language models.
Yeah.
And there are also small
Yep.
language models. And do you know if the amount of tokens is the same or does it differ?
So for tokenization, you basically do like different kinds of like you can break up the word in different ways. Now it depends how the model wants to break it out, what kind of tokenizer they are calling. But basically, I think there are 3 ways to break up a token. There's like character level where you break it based on like if it's love, it's LOVE, and then you have word subword, like something like love can be broken down into LO and VE, and then there is word which is love on its own. It's broken down. But again, it really depends on developers how they want to use the tokenizers and break down like a particular sentence. So it's irrespective of it being a tiny ML model or a small model or like a LLM. It just depends how they're calling the tokenizer. Does that answer it? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Feel free to ask more questions. Really great questions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I took up a lot of time. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone. Yeah.
Can you use your computer?
Yes. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't have to.
I just want to comment that some of the stuff you guys saw, she made in the last like 5 days. I'm so freaking impressed how your skills is really awesome. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you guys online too, and I hope to see you guys next time in June. And yeah, that's it. See you guys.